And yes, you're very welcome back to the second part of this evening's Lar Na Pairce here on WLR. And delighted to welcome to the programme now GAA correspondent with the Irish Independent and former Offaly hurler Michael Verney, who joins us on the line. Thanks for taking the call, Michael, first of all.
No bother at all, Gavin. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Mike hanging in there, as they say. I suppose, look, still in very uncharted and unprecedented times, Michael, and the Alliance Football League, of course, due to get underway tomorrow, seeing the return of inter-county activity. But I suppose that latest recommendation from NEFIT today, proposing that the entire country, go to level 5, has everything, I suppose, still a bit up in the air, doesn't it, really, at this stage?
I know it does, of course. Yeah, I suppose the only thing you would say about that is that NEFIT did say last week, or there were reports last week, that even if it did go into level 5, they were still given the go-ahead for elite sport, including GAA, to go ahead. Obviously, the Taoiseach Leo Varadkar's comments last night to say that level 5 would mean an end for the GAA is obviously worrying, and I suppose it's not the first time they've had contrasting opinions, but it sparked an awful lot of debate in the last 12 or 15 hours, and it just goes to show you as well, particularly with the way things are at the moment, you really can't switch off for a day. I was off from work yesterday, and all of a sudden you think you're just going through your bits and pieces and doing what you're doing, and then you pick up your phone and the whole GAA scene and the whole country has changed if you switch off for a couple of hours. But hopefully, there's been contrasting opinions going out. Obviously, John Heston tweeted the other night that he's kind of sick of the narrative that the country needs the GAA at this stage. He's kind of basically saying, when is enough? And then on the flip side of that, you get Stephen Campbell, the Armagh footballer, saying that he needs this. He feels he needs this. He's taken responsible measures to make sure that he can kick football, and now he can finally see light at the end of the tunnel with league and championship action, and he can't wait. And to be honest with you, that's generally been the overriding opinion that I've got from any players I've been talking to, any managers I've been talking to. I've been chatting to a good few managers in the last couple of weeks, and the question I'd always put to them is, has anybody stepped away from your squad as a result of COVID, or had to step away because of a professional capacity that they're in? And the resounding answer has always been no, in fairness. So it'll be interesting to see what the results of this GPA survey, it'll be interesting to see what percentage comes back that want the championship not to go ahead, basically. But I don't envisage the numbers being that high. I think a lot of people that maybe talk a lot of sense and don't want to say anything, just don't say anything at all, and they're just happy to stay going. That's been the general opinion of any players I've been talking to. So I don't see those results coming back, 60% saying they don't want the championship or anything like that. I'd see it probably more to be something, maybe 20% or less, that don't want the championship to go ahead. And I'm firmly of the opinion anyway, my opinion, I would kill for a championship now at this stage. You just want to see games going ahead. You want to have something to build up to all week. You want to have something to watch every Saturday and Sunday, something to listen to. And I think that is the general consensus. There's obviously some people that maybe don't think that, but that's my own opinion anyway, and I'd love to see it, particularly if we get it off the ground. Maybe it mightn't finish, maybe things will take a turn for the worse, but it would be great to get it started and see how far we can go. If we have to press stop, we have to press stop.
Yeah, it certainly will be interesting indeed. As you say, we've waited around a long time for it, and the various squads and teams are back there since the middle of September, and they're gearing up for the start of the league in football, of course, tomorrow, and then the inter-county hurling in a couple of weeks' time. So I suppose for people, if we were to be maybe go into lockdown again, but if inter-county was to get the green light, Michael, as you say, it would pass those dark winter nights, I suppose, during the week building up, and then you can have a bit of debate about how your team got on the weekend as well. So it would be a huge lift, really, wouldn't it, for the spirits as well?
I know, I think it would be, and I was talking to a few different people about this. People would ask, from a player's point of view, is it the same? I was involved in the Offaly Championship there myself, the Senior Hurling Championship, and it's different. There's no point in saying different. It's different going to a game, and it's different after a game, going home and tugging out pretty quickly and getting into your car and going home, and you're not going down to the pub with the lads, 2 drinks, so you're not going meeting somewhere to talk about the things. But everything between the white lines, from a player's point of view, is the exact same. If anything, I noticed an up in intensity because people were so eager to play games, and there was so much almost pent-up kind of emotions kind of coming out in games. I definitely didn't notice any drop in intensity. So from a player's point of view, and again, from any players I've been talking to, does it matter crowds not being there? They'd love to have crowds there. But once you're involved in the game, I don't think that's anything you think about. And just even around county final time, the football final was on in Offaly, and even in our neighbours in Tipperary back home there, it didn't matter necessarily that people weren't able to go. People were still talking about it. It was still the centre of attention. It was still the talk before the game. It was still the talk after the game. And as you said, I just think it does give people an awful lot of life. It just gives people a little bit of a buzz and excitement, something to think about, something to talk about, something to to FaceTime people, to talk about, to Zoom or whatever. It's different. You're not meeting people face to face, maybe talking about these games and chatting people in shops and whatever it is. But it's still much better than nothing. I think people have adapted quite well to what the GAA looks like in 2020, and I'm a big believer that it needs to go ahead for as long as it can.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, not too long away now from of course the big game we're looking forward to down here is Waterford and Cork, of course, on the 31st of October in that Munster semi-final. And obviously huge prize there, Michael, for the winners that day. They go through to a Munster final and have a quarter-final to fall back on if you lose. So that there's a lot at stake on that day in Thurles on the 31st of October.
A massive prize for the two counties involved. I was kind of looking through and previewing games and that, and you're looking at what have Limerick got to do to win a Munster final. They've got to beat Clare, they've got to beat the All-Ireland champions Tipperary, and they've got to beat either Cork or Waterford. What does Cork or Waterford do just to get to a final, to beat each other? And from Waterford's point of view, I'm a big believer. I don't necessarily think that summer hurling, I think that winter hurling doesn't necessarily suit Cork's style. I think some of their forwards kind of could be gobbled up a small bit, maybe in heavy ground, and not maybe able to use their speed maybe as well as they would on top of the ground. Kind of, Brendan Cummins has always said that if an All-Ireland was hurled below the shoulders, Cork would win every All-Ireland. And that's the way it's not going to be like that this year. You're going to have lads that are going to be able to win dirty balls, maybe to be more kind of direct hurling into maybe a bigger style, kind of full forward at the edge of the square, just because it takes out a lot of play out. And I don't necessarily know if that's going to suit Cork. From a Waterford point of view, funnily enough, like with Morris not on the squad now, they maybe don't have that focal point at the edge of the square. And Stephen Bennett's aside, I think a lot of Waterford forwards are quite nippy forwards. Maybe take out the likes of Jack Fagan and the wing, maybe, who would have kind of a paw on them, but the majority of them would be kind of slighter kind of forwards. So I'm not too sure if winter hurling is going to suit either of them. But there's a massive carrot for the winner, because what's progress for Waterford in 2020? Winning a championship match, realistically, given that the last championship game they won was the 2017 All-Ireland semi-final against Cork. They're the same opposition again. The carrot is huge. I do think some managers will be given a bit of a fool's pardon this year if things don't go well, just because of how much preparations have been interrupted. But Liam Cahill going into 2021, having won a championship game, having beaten Cork in a Munster semi-final and gotten back to a Munster final, I think will be huge progress. But there's obviously some worries there with a couple of injuries. Conor Prunty, Neil Montgomery, and I think Conor Gleeson had a hamstring injury going off for the Nair there.
That's right, yeah.
A week or two ago. So they're big worries, particularly probably Prunty, who's becoming kind of one of the new leaders, I'd say, of this kind of new look Waterford team. Probably in defence, the likes of him and Calum Lyons are kind of two of the new leaders. And we all know if Conor Gleeson gets back to that sort of form of 2017, he'd be a huge asset as well. And Neil Montgomery hurled in the league when I saw Waterford against Galway, and was very impressive at half forward. So you can ill afford to be without anyone. And as I said, when you look at the big players that have gone, Morris is gone, maybe even the Brick is gone as well. Those type of big players that would be really suitable to winter hurling are gone now. So it's going to be a seriously interesting game. And as I said, for Waterford, that would be deemed massive progress if they could get to the Munster final.
Yeah, it certainly would indeed. Fingers crossed we can remain on course for that one on the 31st of October. Of course, the Waterford footballers then play later on that night, of course, against Limerick in Fairfield in a Munster quarter-final. And of course, that's been a lot of talk here during the week as well. Michael, obviously Waterford, they won't be playing London this weekend because of quarantine and that, with London coming over. Waterford due to head to Antrim for their final round the following week. So potentially Benji Whelan's side, they might have no game, no proper, I suppose, league game going into that Limerick game, whereas Limerick have two league games and of course are on the cusp for promotion in Division 4 as well. So that's been a bit of caused a bit of debate down here as well during the week.
Yeah, very tricky. I was chatting to Niall Carew there, who's gone in over Carlow. He only started there 2 months ago, obviously former Waterford boss as well. He was kind of saying they're playing London and they're supposed to play London in their round 7 game. So their only preparation for championship is this weekend against Sligo, who are also in the mix for promotion. So it's far from ideal. And when you look at Waterford, the prospect of travelling up to Antrim, I think if we could get through these league games, where teams are going to have to do maybe big trips, and get the championship games where venues generally will be more centralised, be it Thurles, be it Croke Park, or maybe be it Clonus or wherever up north. I think it would take a lot of problems out of the equation with regards to travel and things like that, and whether teams are going to have to be on buses and meals after. I think it would take out a lot of problems if we can just get through those kind of initial league games. Just something on it as well. I think a lot of problems do arise at minor and under 20 levels, just given that the vast majority of minors, actually every minor now, is in school and is mixing with a huge amount of people every day, and a good chunk of under 20s are going to be college going players who are mixing again with a lot of people and travelling forward and back. I think would be a lot more feasible to just run senior intercounty over the next couple of months. I think minor and under 20, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised if they're culled over the coming weeks. I think if they were going to do it in a gradual stage, I'd say they would be the first to go, because I just think there's an awful lot of complications there. Whereas if you get to senior county level, you have a lot of people that are generally working, a lot of people probably that are working from home at the moment as well. And obviously, without being disingenuous to younger people, you are more responsible when you get older. They won't be taking intercounty players. I don't think it'll be taking any chances. There's not going to be mass congregations after games like there would have been at club level, particularly with the bad press that some of those clubs got as well. So I do think it's far more likely for senior intercounty to go ahead than minor and under 20, and I wouldn't be that surprised if they fell by the wayside before anything else does.
Okay, well, I think plenty there to whet the appetite. Michael Verney of the Irish Independent, many thanks for taking our call this evening, and mind yourself, and sure, look, please God, things can stay on course and we'll have some sort of championship.
Hopefully so, Gavin. Thanks a million.